Welcome back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Brundi, it is currently April 25th, the night of. Both the hockey games today have ended. And we are right in the middle of the first round. I guess still a little on the early side for a lot of them.
Still in kind of the early portion. I'd say we're at about probably the 1/3 mark of the first round, about-ish.
Yeah, I guess there's a couple, I think Edmonton, LA have only played one game or two games, and it's tied 1-1 in that series.
I think every series, only 3 series have 3 games. The rest are all at 2 right now.
The majority of them are at 2. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was
after tomorrow, everything will be evened up for the most part. I mean, two tough games today for both the Lightning and the Islanders, who have now both fallen down to a 3-0 series deficit to the hands of the Florida Panthers and the Carolina Hurricanes.
Tough teams to win 4 in a row on. It's looking pretty bleak for both teams.
And like we even talked about how great the playoffs looked, how these matchups looked, and we're hopefully it doesn't happen, but we're potentially going to see. We might see 3 sweeps happen in the East, which would really would suck. I mean, it'd be good for the teams that win, but as fans who
you want to see more games played, you want it to be more interesting than that.
Yeah, well, especially with the these 2 series in particular that are at 3-0 now. I mean, kind of expected Carolina to be up in the series, but I thought maybe it'd be a 2-1. Same with Tampa. I think Florida kind of at the edge, but I would still think 2-1. Like I didn't expect both of these to turn into 3-0. Just like that.
Yeah, I didn't think either of them were going 3-0. I also definitely didn't expect Dallas to go down 2-0 when they had home ice advantage. That is looking rough over there as well.
Yeah, they're in trouble now. I mean, despite being the top team in the West, you're down 2-0 now. You're going into Vegas, into their barn, which is going to be loud and obnoxious. It's you got to steal at least one of those 2, and if you only get one, you have to win 3 in a row from that point on, and that's just a tall task to do against Vegas. I think Dallas really needs to do it to Vegas now. They got to go in there and they got to steal 2, otherwise they're as much like Dallas is my pick for the Cup, and it's not looking good.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's these playoffs have not been what a lot of people expected. I don't think. I think they've subverted expectations in a lot of different areas.
Yeah, it definitely hasn't gone the way we were expecting it to. But I think before we kind of go into the series a bit more, we got a couple news to go over. Nothing super major.
Yeah, we got our almost podcastly at this point update on the Utah naming situation. The Utah Ice and the Utah Mammoth have both been trademarked, so you can add those to the ever-growing list of trademarked names that they're considering.
All the names they're trademarking, it's really looking like they want to take the approach of being a part of those few teams that don't have a plural name.
Yeah, we talked about that before, and pretty much all the names that they're bringing up are like that. And
I think everyone.
I don't know if in the NBA, I don't know how many teams are plural versus not plural, but the Utah Jazz obviously are not one of those teams. So I wonder if that's It's like kind of a random thing, but it is like this thing that people identify. So it could be a little bit of an identity piece.
Just anything you can take to stand out, kind of.
Yeah, just a bit of an individual seeming thing there.
Like the Utah Ice, I mean, I'm not huge on.
I'm so used to hearing about, what is it, the Winnipeg Ice?
They were before that. They were for the longest time they were the Kootenay Ice.
The Kootenays.
If there's anyone here who's Hitmen fans, you will remember the Kootenay Ice and remember disliking them very strongly. And I think the Mammoth is cool. I mean, I'm still on Team Yeti, but I think Mammoth could be a really
Mammoth could work.
cool idea. It sounds like, so I don't know exactly how they're like what the decision making process is going to be for deciding which ones get eliminated. But it sounds like their plan is they're trademarking all these names and they're going to put them into a bracket. And then they're going to go until one team wins the bracket. And whatever's the winner of that, that's going to be their team name. How do they decide which team name moves on and which is eliminated? I'm not sure, but it sounds like that's the process they're going to go through to decide the name.
Interesting. So they might hold like a public vote, or it might be a council of guys within the org or something that they're just gonna March Madness it and figure out which one sounds the best, I suppose.
Pretty much, yeah. It's kind of what it sounds like they're going to do, and I think it'd be kind of cool if the whole process of while they're doing it, they like put out the updated bracket for the fans, and so like people can kind of keep up with it and see like what it's coming down to and what the final final four, final two will be, and really get people excited and ramped up for whenever they make the decision for what the final team name will be, whatever they decide to go with.
Yeah. Although on the other side, I do wonder because if they have two really good names in there, I could very easily see, they pick one of the names and then 5-10 years down the line, people are still just going, and this team name just ain't it, and this one that they had right there sounded so good. So I wonder if they're gonna have some people being like, you guys really picked the wrong one, and it's
well, yeah, maybe
it makes sense to argue about because it's kind of like a it's what the team's called. It's a big deal, but at the same time, it's also kind of trivial. So
yeah, I think right now with the names they've trademarked, I don't have the full list, but like the ones that I've seen, it's either I really like and I'm totally fine if that's what they go with, and then there's some where I'm just like that's just not it.
Yeah,
like I'm on the side of like the the Yeti, the Mammoth, the Blizzard, like really unique ones, not like those are ones we've like never seen before. Whereas other ones that they've kind of thrown out like Venom, Ice,
the Outlaws.
It's just kind of ones that I'm like, it's just not as original. So I'd like to see them go outside the box and do one that something we've never seen before and something that they can really make a cool logo out of and get some cool jerseys out of, because I think the expectation is pretty high after Seattle. Like I think Seattle smashed it with their jerseys and their logo. Like I think expectations are pretty high for Utah and coming out strong with their look for the team.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, a lot of people would argue that Seattle has some of the best jerseys and the best logo in the league. Like
I think I would put top 5 probably for both, actually.
Yeah, the logo and the color scheme are so sick. So
it just works so well together.
It's a very high bar that they're trying to keep up with.
Their away jerseys actually might be the best in the league. Like their homes are nice, but their aways are pretty outstanding. But anyways, that's kind of our small segment where we cover Utah's they slowly make their mark in the league. Other news, the San Jose Sharks GM Mike Greer announced the other day that the team is deciding to part ways. Nice way of saying they're firing head coach David Quinn after 2 seasons with the team. I believe I have his all-time record is, all-time 2 seasons with the Sharks. His record was 41, 98, and 25. Not very great, but at the same time, he didn't have much to work with.
No, he wasn't brought in to be even a 500 coach or anything. Like he was brought in to try and help out some of the young guys, and help season them a bit, help them learn, give them a system. He was never meant to be a winning coach with them. I don't think.
Yeah, no, he was the guy to really, you know, drive the bus and get them through these, uh, you know, difficult
Rebuilding years.
seasons that they're in. Um, and I've seen a lot of kind of mixed reactions to it. A lot of people are like, you know what, yeah, I mean, you know, I'm kind of in the middle. Like I'm on the side of like accountability needed to be placed somewhere. Like even though it was a bad team, just like it was embarrassing sometimes, and like there need to be accountability. But
Yeah.
on the other side, it's like again, it's not his fault, and like you could have held on to him for another season because I think his contract was up after next season, anyways.
Yeah.
Um, but this kind of decision kind of shows that the Sharks are planning to, I mean, obviously not make the playoffs next year, but be a better team next year. It kind of sounds like they kind of know that like this last season sucked, it was awful, but like this was as bad as it's gonna get. Like we're not gonna go down more than this. Like this was the bottom, and now it's time to start working up. So I think they're planning on bringing in a coach who can help them take that next step. They're probably gonna have a lot of new guys in the lineup next year, so I mean, it's both ways. I got to imagine. I mean, obviously, a very, very difficult decision for Mike Grier to make is him and David Quinn are, they have a real close personal relationship that stemmed even before coming to San Jose. That's why David Quinn got the job in the first place. So, I can't imagine it was easy for Mike Grier to fire one of his, real good buddies and part ways with him. But hey, he's doing what he feels is right for the team. So now the Sharks are on the clock for finding a new coach, and
Yeah. And
again,
it
it'll be
might have been
interesting to see
because
what they do.
yeah, and it might be because they, another coach is out there that might get picked up soon that they want. Like maybe they have their eye on somebody who they can bring in, whether that's I guess not Lindy Ruff because he got picked up by Buffalo.
I've heard Jay Woodcroft's name get thrown out already.
But Woodcroft's out there, people don't fully know if Bruce Boudreau is gonna come back and coach again, or if he's kind of done with the coaching part of his career. So there's definitely some very good coaches out there, and you know, a lot of teams I think are going to fire their coach in the off season, and getting in ahead of the rush could be the good call.
Yes, guy. Really, there's three ways they can go about it. You can do a completely out of the box hire. You can do something like maybe getting a Craig Berube, who the Blues let go. You can look to I'm blanking on the first name, but Carl, with the head coach of University of Denver, who just won the NCAA championship. There's talks that maybe he might make the jump to the NHL, but he also might just stay and continue to win. And then there's also, bringing in a guy that, is familiar with the organization, bringing back a Todd McClellan or Jay Woodcroft. And then the third is the one that I'm kind of interested in because it was only David Quinn that was fired, along with their head athletic trainer, but like that's not a coach. All assistant coaches are staying with the team for now,
right?
Until the new head coach comes in. He'll have time, then he'll get to interview them and decide whether he wants to keep those guys. But it's worth noting that Ryan Warsofsky is currently an assistant coach with the Sharks. He's still with the team, and he was the runner-up to be the head coach back when David Quinn got the job. It came down between those two, and David Quinn got the job, and then Warsofsky ended up signing a couple days later as an assistant coach. So I wonder if maybe now that he's kind of got some NHL experience under his belt, if the team maybe looks to him to take things over. But
yeah,
last time he did that was with Bob Boughner, and it did not work out. So
that's fair enough.
I'm not sure they should take that approach.
That'd be interesting for sure. what do you think the odds are that obviously not as a head coach, but what do you think the odds are that a Patrick Marleau, a Joe Thornton comes on and is a power play coach or something for the new head coach that they decide on?
I would be okay with it. I know the instant reaction is for a lot of Sharks fans was, hire Joe Thornton, hire Patrick Marleau. I'm on the side of I love how Ottawa did it, where they're like, right now, maybe in the future, but right now we're not good. We're not hiring Alfredson as our head coach because we don't want to be in a position where we have to fire him.
Exactly.
So, and that's the side I'm on is if you want to, I know Patrick Marleau's already kind of doing some stuff with, I think just player development, which I think if he stays there, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know about Joe Thornton. I'm assuming probably sometime this offseason now that he's officially retired. If there's a role for him with the organization, they'll obviously give him an offer. Head coach, definitely not. But, being maybe a power play coach or even just...
who better than Joe Thornton to be a power play coach as well, right? Like that's the perfect guy for that position. And if he can, get 4 or 5 years of reps of getting used to coaching under his belt while learning learning how to do it, and also just while the team develops, and then when they're good, you could kind of move him into an assistant coach, a head coach role, if you feel like that's where he belongs.
Yeah. I mean, like the thing is with the Sharks, like they are in a nice spot at least where they've got, lots of options they can go with the coach, and then once you bring in the coach, then he can kind of sit down with Mike Grier, because the Sharks, team right now, is pretty bare. Like they've got a lot of guys who I don't think are coming back, so there's going to be a lot of open roster spots, and then they can kind of just decide how they want to build this team going into next year. To obviously, they're going to be nowhere near the playoffs, but even just taking a step further and winning an extra 5, 6, 7, 8 games and just slowly starting to build up.
Yeah. Hell, I mean, the bar's pretty low. Like you could win 10 more games in this season and still easily finish in the bottom 5. So
but to the best tank commander in San Jose, David Quinn, thank you for 2 fun seasons, if you want to call it that. And it'll be interesting to see, where he goes to next and what's next for Quinny there.
Yeah. And geez, we talked a lot about that for a bit. we got a couple other things. On a bit more of a somber note, this one just came out earlier today, but legendary play-by-play NHL announcer Bob Cole died yesterday at the age of 90. He was an absolute mainstay on Hockey Night in Canada for 5 decades and was the lead NHL commentator from 1980 to 2008.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't have an intimate knowledge of a lot of that stuff, so I did have to YouTube, Bob Cole calls and highlights and stuff to refresh myself of who he was. And you click on the video and instantly it's like, oh, it's this guy. Like he's done all the classic calls that anywhere from the 80s and beyond, really. Like this dude is an absolute legend. And best wishes to him and his family. There's it's not a ton more to say, but I don't believe they know what it was. I mean, he was 90, so
90, like it's there's not really, you don't really need to probably dig too deep into kind of figure it out probably. But I mean, like you said, legendary announcer. Some of the greatest calls in NHL history came from him. So obviously we wish, his family nothing but the best, and as they go through this difficult time, and hopefully the NHL maybe finds a way to honor him in some kind of way. Like I know they did they actually did a really nice little tribute thing in the intermissions of the games tonight.
I was gonna say I saw one before the start of the Tampa game. That was pretty good.
Yeah. But moving on from that, the Chicago Blackhawks announced today that they have signed defenseman Alex Vlasic to a 6-year extension with an AAV of $4.6 million.
Is this a lot? Is this like a
I like
crazy
this.
amount?
I like this for both sides.
Yeah?
This is great for Chicago. I think it's great for Vlasic. So Alex Vlasic is the younger cousin of Marc-Edouard Vlasic, and he plays a very very similar style to Marc-Edouard Vlasic. It's defense first, offense second.
Right.
His defensive, like his advanced defensive numbers were actually really really good this season. In general, like it's not even like, oh, he was good for being on Chicago. Like they're good in general. They're fantastic for him being on Chicago. And you know what, I think for him to, I think he's 20, 22, 23 or something. 6-year extension. He's getting paid, and Chicago, they're locking in a great defensive defenseman that can be part of their core. I love it for both sides. I think this is a great deal.
Yeah, I really am not. I mean, so especially with defensemen, you don't hear their praises near as much as guys who put up points. So I really did not know much about him. So when I heard this, I was like, that's quite a few years. And then I saw the AAV, and I was like, that's a good amount of money. So I was very curious to hear your thoughts on it. So it's interesting that he's, got legitimate stats and skill to back it up. So yeah, good for him.
So, I mean, to put into perspective, he played 76 games with the Blackhawks this season.
Yeah.
2 goals, 14 assists for 16 points. He was only a -4.
Not horrible.
He was a -4 through 76 games.
With that team, actually.
22 years old, 6'6", 217. Like, I mean, this is a guy that I was really hoping for. The draft that year would have been the 2019 draft. I was really, rooting and hoping that San Jose would get him, because I was like, why wouldn't you bring in Vlasic's younger cousin who, all of his numbers and whatnot going into the draft look great, and Chicago's got a really good defenseman there now for 6 years.
Yeah. I believe that's the only person that was signed or extended, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah. Actually, one really funny thing came out after this Vlasic signing here. Obviously someone who was in the group chat at the time leaked it.
Yeah.
But this was back when, I don't know where Vlasic was going to school at the time, but he had a group project that he was doing with some classmates. And he then decided he was going to transfer and go to Boston University to play hockey. And so it was like an email thread of all of them talking about the group project. And then he just pops in and says, hey guys, just want to let you know I'm leaving. I'm going to Boston University to, pursue a career in hockey. So I won't be helping anymore with the project, which I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah. Is there picture? Is there like a reaction to that? What they're saying?
I would have to try and find. I'm not sure if I had it saved. If I can, I'll come back to it. But
yeah, we can bring it back. While you're looking for that, we got a couple of things that there's not a ton to talk about. Maybe one of them a bit more, but Sam Bennett is out indefinitely for the time being, after blocking a shot from one of his defensemen. I want to say Montour.
Yeah.
He took a big slap shot from the blue line, hit Bennett right in the hand, and you could immediately tell this wasn't a normal getting hit by a shot. He was, he had a very visceral reaction to it. He very clearly was hurt and immediately went off and down the tunnel. So probably a broken hand, a wrist, something like that. Did not look fun. So best wishes to him and a speedy recovery.
So yeah, first of all, speedy recovery. So the original email was from whatever classmate and just said, hey, just want to let you guys know our assignment's due on the 17th. And then Vlasic responds, said, hey, sorry guys, I recently just left. This is when he left Boston University. Oh, so this is when he made the jump to the NHL. Oh, that makes more sense. So he said he recently just left BU to pursue hockey. I won't be able to contribute to the assignment. And then one guy just responded, said, no worries. Thanks for the heads up. Good luck. And look at him now. He just signed a deal for, what's the total there? 4.6 times 6. 27.6 million. So I think he made a choice over helping with that assignment. He also sent them that the day before the assignment was due. Said the assignment's due on the 17th, and the bottom, you know how on the bottom it's like a MacBook at the bottom, the calendar thing shows the date.
Yeah.
It was the 16th. So he let him know the day before that he's not helping out no more.
Yeah, by the way, I'm not having my part done.
He just signed a contract for 27 million, so I don't think he's losing sleep over it.
No. 2 more injuries, if you want to call them that.
Big ones.
William Nylander has yet to play a game in the playoffs for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He played all 82 games this season, and he hasn't played a single game in the playoffs yet. He is out with reportedly migraines. Apparently, he's had migraines before. Apparently, they concussion tested him because migraines have been so bad.
Wow.
I know he's already... Does he play with a tinted visor? He either started using a tinted visor or he stopped using a tinted visor, I was reading earlier, because in the past, like 1 or 2 seasons ago, he was getting migraines and he thought it was his visor. I believe he started to use a tinted visor because I guess it was just too bright, maybe. I'm not sure, but...
Yeah, he originally had a non-tinted, and now he's gone to... It's not like a full-on like what Kopitar has, I don't think. But it definitely is tinted a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So he it's rough. I was reading earlier, he's kind of an Iron Man. He's played a lot of games for him. He's missed very little time. This is like the second time in his career where he's missed games due to injury.
And like a horrible time, especially after a full season and then right before the playoffs.
82 games.
Like,
and
just
then
brutal.
Misses the first 3. So hopefully he can, whatever it is, he can get it under wraps. Migraines are an absolute bitch, and it would be a shame to not see Nylander show up at all in a Toronto-Boston series again. Like, that sucks.
Especially after signing that massive contract as well.
Yeah, because whether he deserves it or not, which obviously I don't think he does. Migraines, that's fair play to not.
Yeah, that's something out of his control, which is the really unfortunate part.
Yeah, but it's Toronto, dude. They want to win so bad. People are going to be upset at him if they lose in the first round and he didn't play.
Yeah, and I see all these Toronto fans that are like, oh, so he's got a headache, so he's saying, it's like, man, migraines are such a different thing from headaches. Like, there's no way if you're dealing with a migraine, you cannot go out there and play an NHL playoff game, especially against Boston. Like,
yeah.
You just can't. Like, it sucks, but you can't. If he went out there, he would get. I think he would get ripped even harder if he went out and played, because I think it'd be so hard to watch.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say, I think Toronto handled it very bad.
Yeah, it's also bright as hell in those arenas, especially on the ice surface. Like, it would not be very good. And hopefully he can get under wraps as soon as possible. Yeah.
And it's crazy. We're talking about Nylander being out. It's not even like the biggest, if you want to call like the migraine an injury, it's not even the biggest injury we're seeing right now in the playoffs. As Thatcher Demko, who we were praising him pretty highly last episode. And then it comes out the very next day that he's out. Is it knee injury? I believe it is.
I had not seen any reports on what the injury was. I figured they were just not saying because they didn't want anyone to know. But it very well might be. I know is that he's supposed to be out for probably the rest of the series. If it goes to like a game 7, I wonder how close he'll be to returning if they are like, buddy, we need you in there. Which, I mean, if it's a knee injury as a goalie, who knows? Is Thatcher Demko 60% better than Casey DeSmith at 100%, it's really hard to say, but
Yeah, so originally it was like, yeah, he's day to day, and then it's week to week, and now reports came out earlier today from a Vancouver reporter, and there's now the talk is there's a belief there that even if the Canucks make it to the Western Conference Final, it would be a stretch to think that Demko would play.
really, did he go down in that first game? Like he
No,
played out the entire game.
he finished the game and he looked great. So I don't know if it was something happened in practice the next day, or he just fought through the game, or he went home and something happened. Like, we don't know that, but like it sounded like it was hopeful he could return this round, and then it's now sounding like, okay, he's done for this round. But now it's like he might, even if they go to the Western Final, he probably won't play.
Wow.
So whatever it is with his knee, it doesn't sound like it's good, and that's a huge loss for the Canucks. That's such a killer for them.
There's no team that can easily survive losing their starting goalie. Like that's a massive loss for them, and it showed in that second game of the series. It's now tied up 1-1 with Nashville. It was a pretty low shooting game. Like I think Nashville had 14 shots.
I'll pull it up because it was absurd. Vancouver outshot Nashville 18-16, with Nashville winning 4-1. But it was an empty netter, so for the goalies, 3-1.
So for Casey DeSmith, he would have let in 3 goals on 15 shots, which is bad. It's not horrendous, but it's not great. I also didn't catch that one, so power play goals, defensive breakdowns, you can't blame the goalie on those if that's how it went in. But at the end of the day, he's not Thatcher Demko. Like, he's not going to put up the same performances that Vancouver fans are used to seeing all season from Demko, and that's Western Conference Final. That's really tough.
Yeah. Oh, and even with Vancouver, the other big worry is, like, we talked about Nylander, and he just signed his big deal, not even playing. Elias Pettersson signed his big deal with the Canucks, and through the 2 games so far, he's got 0 points. He's a -4. He only has 2 shots on goal, despite playing a combined, about almost 40 minutes between the 2 games. So he's played almost 2 of the 6 periods, and he's done nothing. So Vancouver, they really need, guys like Pettersson, Hughes, Mill, they're leaders, they're big stars. They really got to step it up, and because if you can hold Nashville to 16 shots, and if you can go out there and put up,
3 or 4,
Vancouver can put up a lot of shots with their team. So they're in a tough spot, but I think they can still power through this round at least. But next round, depending on who they play, they could be in real trouble if Demko's done. Yeah,
for sure. I think it'll be a lot tougher, but I do think they still beat Nashville. But yeah,
I think so.
After that, it gets tough.
Yeah, I think they beat Nashville, but I think my prediction was they beat Nashville in 5. You're probably now looking at, 6, potentially even. It goes 7.
Yeah,
because you know what, Nashville's good. I know they're really rely on their top line, but it doesn't matter. They find that this team finds a way to win. So,
they score just enough goals to win. They're not blowing anybody out generally, but if they let the other team score 2 goals, they score 3 or 4. If they only allow 1, they score 2 goals. They get it all very timely scoring all throughout the lineup. Not like massive scoring from the bottom, but timely when they need it, and it's been just enough. Whether that's somehow by design or just pure luck. You got to be good to get lucky, and you got to be lucky to get good. So,
yeah, exactly. So what do we want to do here? Because I know the only series that's played 2 games since we recorded the one earlier this week is Tampa Bay and Florida. Every other series has only played 1 game. So, do we need to go through each series, or do you just kind of want to highlight some things that we maybe want to address when it comes to certain teams? How do we kind of want to roll
Well,
through
we
it?
could look at how many series are there? 8.
Yeah.
So we can take a look at the series and outline where they're at, and then I guess just kind of predict where they'll go forward. Review some of
Maybe we'll
what's
just kinda
happened.
go through each one. Yeah, maybe we'll just go through each one and be like, hey, this is where it's at now. Well, maybe we'll just see if like our opinions have maybe changed from how we felt earlier this week. Because I know, game 2 was kind of huge for a lot of teams. So,
Yeah.
which series do you want to start with then?
Let's talk. Let's start in the West. I want to talk about the Dallas series.
All right. Dallas is crumbling under the pressure of being the top team in the West. I mean, they're up against a good Vegas team, though, man. And
a Vegas team that's so far over the cap. I know it's outplayed, but like it's oversaid, but for good reason. Like they lied about injuries, and yeah.
Do you want me to throw fuel on the fire here? Yeah. So Vegas has scored 7 goals so far. 3 of their goals have come from Stone, Hurdle, and Hannafin. Hurdle and Hannafin being the 2 guys they could bring in because Mark Stone went out. I mean I don't like Vegas. I think I've made that clear.
Yeah.
It's tough to watch though. Seeing Jonathan Marchessault, especially in last game, he had a goal, and then he was the dog on a bone who fought for the puck and gave it to Eichel to have an easy empty netter.
Yeah,
it's so tough watching Marchessault out there, who has really been the driving force of this team since they started, and he holds like basically every record with the Golden Knights so far. He won a Conn Smythe, and now we're watching him out there still driving the team, being the force, but he's playing around all of these players that are the reason that he's gone. He's out the door at the end of the season. Like Vegas has the right, like they have no cap space right now, obviously. And they have they've zero, like their projected cap space going into next season, like off season, is 0. They have no money.
I don't know, man. I'll believe it when I see it. As far as I'm concerned, he's a Vegas Golden Knight.
Unless they find a way to ship out a William Karlsson.
Yeah, but listen to that. Unless Vegas finds a way to move money, when have they not?
But that's the thing. William Karlsson's like the only guy they could move, I think, because like you're not moving Stone, Eichel. You're definitely not now moving Hannafin or Hurdle.
I mean, you'd move Karlsson over Marchessault, right? Marchessault just won a Conn Smythe.
But like, would you? Marchessault's 33. What's Karlsson? 28, 29?
When does Vegas look towards the future? They want to win.
Karlsson's 31.
I would definitely take Marchessault over Karlsson if that's the trade-off. Like if trading Karlsson means you can keep Marchessault, then in a heartbeat.
It's possible. The only thing is I can't actually see going into next season if they're actually over the cap. So for all we know, like their projected cap space is 0. They could still even be over the cap. So maybe even moving out Karlsson might not be enough. But all in all, we've kind of seen with Vegas.
It's just so hard to take the cap seriously with Vegas. They just found ways so many times. And like,
well, and I hope we have seen that loyalty doesn't really matter. Like it's about winning.
Yeah.
They don't.
He's shown that he's a winner. He's shown that he's a winner. So
he's I think the biggest winner on that team.
Yeah.
Success follows him wherever he goes. But I mean, for Dallas, like, what a tough spot to be in.
I don't even know what's happening with them. Like
it's got to be so sad for the players and the fans, like the entire organization, the entire city. I feel for them. I feel for them.
Yeah. As a
I've
Tampa
seen that
fan, it
happen
freaking
before.
sucked going down 2-0. Obviously, we're down 3-0 now, but at least it was like, okay, fine. They got their 2 at home. Let's do that back.
Yeah.
Vegas just walked into their barn and took 2 right out the gate. Like,
yeah.
Does Vegas look like the Cup favorite right now to you? The way every team's playing, I don't see a team that they don't at least take to a game 7.
See, so I'm gonna say no, just because, like, I mean, aside from that empty net, like, it's a 2-1 game, and then game 1, I think Dallas outplayed Vegas. I think Ottinger just kind of dropped the ball for Dallas. I mean, if I had to pick a favorite, I think my favorite would be Florida right now.
I was gonna say,
just because I think they're up 3-0,
Florida,
and I think if they get by Tampa, like, I think Florida's got a pretty good chance of going back to the Stanley Cup final.
At least to the Eastern Conference final.
At least the Eastern Conference final, yeah. And
they're going to run into either the Rangers or Carolina, barring a catastrophic collapse.
Florida would steamroll Carolina. They'd probably sweep them just like last year.
Yeah, so Carolina or the Rangers. I could see either of those being a series. I have more faith in the Rangers, just like you were saying there. But
Rangers Florida would be a battle.
Yeah,
but I think I would still, like, initially from what I've seen, I think I would still go Florida.
Yeah,
but again, like, you don't know what the teams are going to look like.
Skill. Like Florida has the same skill as Tampa, the top guys on Toronto, the Rangers, Carolina, but they also just beat the freaking crap out of you.
They beat the fuck out of you,
like straight up. And they also, their defensive game is, I didn't know they were this good defensively. Straight
and
up.
then Bobrovsky turns it on.
Dude, yeah, and now Bobrovsky is going God mode. Like an absolute goalie duel in this series, but there's just waves of offense from Florida. Like, Vasi has been outstanding, like easily the MVP on Tampa so far. These playoffs. But Bobrovsky is easily their MVP as well. He has been so good. Obviously, if you're listening to this podcast, you're a big enough hockey fan. Surely you've seen the clip of Bobrovsky's save going around now, where he robs, I believe it was, 24. This defense we picked up.
Who was it?
God damn it. Matt Dumba.
Yeah.
Dumba, some play happened where somebody took a shot and then it got passed back out front. Bobrovsky is on the ice, down, dead to rights. Dumba comes in, shoots at the empty net, and Bobrovsky just flops over, Dominic Hasek style, swings the back of his glove, and bats it out of the air and out of there. Like,
yeah,
absolutely insane. And that, like, his 5th best save, that singular game, that game 2, would have made every highlight reel. Like,
yeah.
Him and Vasi have both been unreal, but especially him, and it's not giving the Bolts much of a chance.
Yeah, like, I mean, yeah, when you look at Florida, like, they've got one of the best playoff performers in recent years with Tkachuk. Their defensive structure is outstanding. The way Bobrovsky's been playing,
you have to score as soon as you get into the zone. You have to get in there, make a pass, and smack it in the net. You can't set up in the zone. You don't get to pass in their zone. It's so frustrating to watch. Like, you just can't pass, which is such a goofy thing to say about a hockey team. But, like, as soon as you're in there, they've covered every conceivable pass. It's mind-boggling to watch.
Yeah, and then above all else, they play that playoff style hockey of just,
they do everything right,
beating the piss out of you. Like,
they don't have a weak spot.
No,
they really don't. So they're going to be a tough out for any team that face them going forward, barring a Tampa reverse sweep, which I am not against seeing.
Yeah, no, I'm all for seeing reverse sweeps happen.
Yeah. As long as he's giving them a hell of a chance.
Again.
Like, if the team can score and limit chances, Vasi's giving them every opportunity to bring it back. But They're literally. We were talking about it. I think before. I think we were talking about Ovechkin. How like, is it worth just playing like a 4-on-3 on a penalty kill and just stapling a guy to Ovechkin so he can't do anything? That's what Florida does
Yeah.
every time Kuch is on the ice. Kucherov touches the ice, and there's just some dickhead always standing beside him, even if he's out of position. But I mean, it's Kucherov. You're just neutralizing such an important part of our offense that it's worth it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So
yeah.
I want to do something here. So there's 4 series right now where teams kind of got a stranglehold. We're gonna go through them. I'm gonna name them off, and you're gonna tell me how confident you are that the team that's trailing can come back to win the series.
Okay.
First one, the New York Rangers, who are up 2-0 on the Capitals. How confident are you that the Capitals can come back to win?
I picked the Rangers to sweep the series in our end of regular season predictions, and I'm sticking with it. They're cooked. Like,
yeah, I like.
It's so much more up to the Rangers to collapse than it is Washington to control their destiny.
Exactly. Yeah. I will say though, with the Capitals, I did like their bounce back in game 2, 4-3. I think they showed a lot more grit and fight in them. But again, it comes down to skill, and it's just the Rangers.
They're playing
have way
a good
more
game,
skill.
but it's a bit of a mismatch, really.
Yeah. This one I think is pretty clear now. The Carolina Hurricanes are up 3-0 on the Islanders now. Where are you feeling on that one?
Islanders are cooked. They're done.
I agree.
I
have to win tonight.
I would have given them a chance if they even lost and were down 3-0. If Sorokin showed that he can steal games going forward. We were talking last time for game 3. Do you go to Sorokin? They went to him and they had to pull him.
Yeah, they yanked him halfway through the second, and then Varlamov came in, stood on his head. But I think if Varlamov started that game, Islanders might have actually won that game, which is just like absurd to that's what we're saying is if they didn't start Sorokin, the Islanders probably win. But
yeah,
I think that's where we're at with it.
And that it almost just shows how volatile the goalie position is in today's NHL. For so long, it's Vasi's the best goalie in the league. And then Shesterkin had one good year, and all of a sudden people were like, Shesterkin's the best goalie. But then, all of a sudden he's not looking fantastic. He hasn't fallen off, but he's like, regressing to an average. And then, all of a sudden Vasi has a down year, but then he's back, but then he's not. Like, it's so hard to be consistently good as a goalie, especially with scoring going up. Like,
yeah.
You almost just need to have the goalie who can most often steal games more than be consistent, because consistency almost just isn't a thing you can find anymore.
Yeah, 100%. Next up, the Florida Panthers up 3-0.
Sorokin will get back, though. I'm just going to throw that in there. Sorokin will be back. He has too much talent to.
I think it's just an off year.
Be a backup for Varlamov the rest of Varlamov's career. No.
Yeah. Next up, the Florida Panthers up 3-0 on Tampa.
Vasilevsky gives me hope, but Bobrovsky's been just as good, if not better. Bobrovsky's been so good. And we're having so much trouble generating offense. Like I say, dude, you literally can't pass. I've been saying it for the last 4 hours around my house, and I don't know what to do with myself. Like, you can't play hockey against them. It feels so weird to watch. It's similar to playing Boston a couple years ago when they were just so defensively good, when they still had Bergeron. Like, it's boring and frustrating to watch, but fuck, what do you do?
Well, and they showed a stat during the.
It's possible, but I don't love
Islanders
their chances.
Yeah, so they showed a stat during the Islanders game earlier today, and it was teams that go up 3-0 in a series. 98% of the time, they win that series.
Yeah, they should.
Normally, anytime I see a 3-0, I'm like, all right, that team's cooked. They're done. With Tampa Bay, I feel like there's hope at least because, first of all, I think when he's on his game, Vasilevsky is still the best goalie in the league. Obviously, what Kucherov has done in the regular season, he can turn it on he can fire it up and start really piling up the offense. And also, it's a team that went back to back not too long ago. It's the same as how
3
the
straight
Penguins
finals.
It's the same as how when what was it 2019? Was that the year the Islanders swept the Penguins? I remember that one, and I was cheering for the Islanders at the time, but I was like, man, Penguins down 3-0. They very well could come back and win it. And it's because they had just won back-to-back cups in previous years and had a good majority, at least, of their core there. Obviously, they didn't get it done. But it's like when you've got teams like that, it's hard to count them out yet.
Yeah, and there were stretches in Game 3 specifically tonight that, like, during the second period, just like out of nowhere, Vasi made an insane save. The puck went the other way. Stamkos blew up somebody in the corner, massive hit, and then we just got like 10 minutes of uninterrupted offense. All of a sudden, they were off their game. We were on ours. We were getting a million shots. We rang it off the post like 4 times, and then all of a sudden they went in and it got a weird bounce and a goal. So they ended up scoring off all that, but we looked so good and they looked vulnerable for a bit. So it's definitely possible, but they're going to have to score quick, score early, and they're going to have to seriously grab this momentum, because otherwise the Florida team looks good.
Yeah, I mean, like my pick is still for Florida to come out of the.
Yeah, I'm not giving Tampa
the East, but it's
a great chance. But
with Tampa, there's a slim chance that they could pull it off.
Better chances than the Islanders to come back.
Yeah, 100%.
It feels crazy to say better chances than Washington because it's 2-0 versus 3-0, but dude, I don't see Washington beating this Rangers team.
Especially not 4 out of 5 games. Like
I've been low on them since the start of the season. They beat my expectations by far in the regular season, but still, yeah.
And then lastly, the Dallas Stars, who are down 2-0 to the Vegas Golden Knights.
Easily the best odds to come back out of the 4 teams that
I agree.
Are in a tough spot.
I don't like that they're going on the road, though.
Yeah, dropping 2 at home is rough, but they have a very good team. They've got a lot of veterans on that team. Tyler Seguin, Jamie Benn, Joe Pavelski, guys Ryan Suter, guys who have been to the Stanley Cup final before, and they know what it takes to get there. Obviously, Vegas also does, but they're not a team without experience, and they're hungry. They want it. If they turn it on, like we've said, they're one of the deepest teams in the league, if not the deepest.
I think they are the deepest team.
So
yeah,
I think it's them in Florida for sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of things have to go right for Dallas because again, it's like this is a deep Vegas team. They're they're the defending champs, and you're going into their barn down 2-0. Like this is really where we see what Dallas is made of. If Dallas loses the next game, it's like, okay, this team is a fraud. Like they're done. But if they win the next game, I think
at worst I'd say it's a
show
choke.
some.
I don't think they're frauds. I think they've shown they're good enough that they're.
I throw them in the frauds, man. If you do what they did in the regular season and you get swept though potentially.
That's not being a fraud. That's just choking though. Fraud means you shouldn't even be in the playoffs. They didn't accidentally win that many games.
I mean, but I don't know.
It's more of a difference on what fraud means, I suppose, rather than.
Yeah, I guess I should be more specific. I guess like playoff frauds, like that. Even though they're a deep team, they're not like a playoff built team.
Yeah,
like they're great to just go and plug away in the regular season, but when it comes to the hard hitting, crunch time games in the playoffs, like the team just can't get it done. I guess is more so how I should have phrased it, but
right. And that's fair.
I mean, the next game is determines the series. I think. Well, not determines series, but like if Vegas goes up 3-0, Dallas is cooked.
I was gonna say generally
win, they have a chance.
If it's 2-0 in a series, the next game really does decide it. Like it doesn't. If the underdog wins, then it's a new series. If they don't, they're basically done. It's very tough to come back.
I wouldn't say in every case, because I think last night
Not every case.
Was do or die when the Edmonton Oilers and LA Kings went to overtime. And despite Edmonton only being up 1-0 in the series, I was viewing it as, if Edmonton scores the next goal and wins the game, I think Edmonton wins the series. But then now Kopitar ended up scoring, and that gives LA life. It's 1-1 going back to LA. There's some life with the Kings now. So
good for LA. Good for Kopitar.
That's a bounce back win for them. And we discussed it. We said I think they probably have to just go in there with the mindset of, we got to go in there into a shootout with Edmonton and outscore them. And they did. I don't think LA was really playing their, top heavy shutdown, crash and bash, grind away defensive game. They went out there and they're like, we just got to go out there and outscore them, plain and simple. And they were able to.
Yeah.
So I don't have much to say on that game, but just an impressive effort by the Kings. And shout out to Drew Doughty, who I just found out so he scored a breakaway goal last night. Yes, Drew Doughty scored a breakaway goal. That was his first playoff goal since the Cup final in 2014.
I thought you were going to say in his career, and I was going to be like, no way.
Since Drew Doughty scored his last playoff goal.
Legend.
And also shout out to Dylan Holloway, who potted 2 goals as well. His first career 2-goal game. Pretty cool to see him. Yeah, exactly, right? So that series just became a whole lot more interesting now that we can see that, LA can get into that shootout with Edmonton, and they can come out on the winning side of it.
Yeah. We already talked about Nashville, Vancouver a bit with the Demko injury.
I still like Vancouver in that series, though.
I still favor Vancouver for sure. But now a lot of the onus is on Casey DeSmith. He doesn't have to steal him games. Vancouver's a good enough team. He just needs to be good enough. Give him 900 goaltending. Give him 880 goaltending, and they will probably win this series.
Yeah. Did you see that cringe video that Canucks fan group put out on social media?
No, I don't think so.
It was bad. It was one of those kind of quote unquote serious type videos where it's people just sitting there on a stool, and it's in black and white.
No.
It's this video is for Casey DeSmith and DeSmith only. If you're not him, scroll away. And then it's
oh no,
you can do this. We believe in you. The whole city's rallying behind you. Now's your time to shine. It's holy fuck. It was a tough watch. It's honestly more tough to watch than a San Jose Sharks game. And that's saying something.
So there's no way he would ever just naturally come across it. But okay, picture you are Casey DeSmith. You're in the middle of the playoffs, and for whatever psychotic reason, you decide to just sit there scrolling your For You feed on Twitter. And this does come up. This video is for Casey DeSmith and Casey DeSmith only. Do you really think he's watching the rest of that video?
I bet he would, honestly.
Dude, he's going to go, these guys are going to say something psycho. I need to block and ban these guys immediately.
I bet if he came across it, he watched it.
You see, yeah, he's a madman like that.
And then, I would say he dropped the ball, but the team dropped the ball the next game.
Yeah. Do we just have 2 left to talk about, really?
Yeah, just going back to the Edmonton LA, I'm split on that. I'm not feeling one way or the other now, because I was really on Edmonton after game 1, but seeing what LA could do in game 2 and now going back home, I'm torn. I think the series literally goes 7. Probably. I think it's a 2-2 split. Game 5 going back to Edmonton. Whoever wins, it's going 6 or 7. So I'm very torn on that one. Vancouver, I'm still high on. Really it's just Boston, Toronto, and Winnipeg and Colorado.
I'm higher on the Kings than I was, but I do think Edmonton still takes it. I think McDavid will this team to victory, at the very least against the Kings team.
4-point game in him. He's got another 4-point game in him in this series.
At least one.
At least one, yeah. Potentially could be more.
He's psychotic, dude. What are his stats right now? He is currently tied for the league lead in in playoff points. He has two games played, 6 points.
Yeah. 5-1.
Yeah.
And I think all assists. Yeah, no goals.
But I mean, so Zach Hyman's got 5 points, 4 goals, and 1 assist in those 2 games. How many points do you think he has if he's not playing with McDavid? 2 at most? Like,
yeah, probably. If
yeah.
that.
Oh, I think he's gonna will that team forward.
Yeah. Boston, Toronto. Boston up 2-1, winning last night's game in a pretty back and forth game. A very entertaining game, very chippy, very physical. Boston coming out on top 4-2. Was 3-2
an empty netter.
Yeah, Marchand caught the empty netter. And did you see what he did after he scored the empty netter?
I did not.
He so after he sallied with his teammates, he went to go high five everybody on the bench. And as he's going by the Toronto bench, he said, I don't know the exact phrase, but it was something like, series is over in 5. Which is pretty bold, but like that's on par for Marchand.
I mean, sure. I think that's more of a stone cold line coming from a guy like Jonathan Marchessault, But for a guy who had such a great year last year and they choked it out in the first round to Florida, it's a bold statement.
It most definitely is, yeah. But the one thing I will say is, did you watch Sheldon Keefe's post-game interview?
No.
So Sheldon Keefe, I mean, I've tried to defend him, but like, I have just never, ever seen a coach that gets so caught up in all the on-ice stuff and their own personal beef with players, and they have to run to the media with it and get their say in. Like, most coaches will just be like, you know what, I'm not going to comment, or Marchand's a hell of a player, but I'm not going to comment. But Keefe runs to the media and just complains like Marchand gets all the calls his way. He's very good about getting the refs to see things his way. It's like, it's just so painful to watch a coach sit there and bitch about a player. Like just say it. Marchand is better than anyone on the Leafs right now. Like, but you don't need to sit there and just try and bash on Marchand and act like everything's going his way. It's like, if the Leafs wanted to be up in the series, they could have. You shouldn't have shit the bed in the first game. Plain and simple. I just hate seeing coaches get into that kind of stuff. It's just like, focus on your team. Don't focus on what the other team is doing and what they're saying. Focus on your guys, because if all your focus is on Marchand, like, you're not focusing on your team and prepare for the next one.
I gotta disagree. I think that's exactly what Toronto needs. I think Toronto needs as little focus on their stars not showing up as possible, because that's all they ever get in the playoffs. If everybody in Toronto, if he goes up there and says, "Fuck you, Brad Marchand," and he looks at the camera like he's The Rock in 1999, he goes, "I hate Brad Marchand and I hope he knows that." And that's trending in Toronto the next day. That's a lot better than people going, "Where the hell's Marner been?"
See, so I would agree with you on that, but the narrative is already there with Marner. Like, it's already out there. 3 games, he's got 1 assist.
Me saying it right now is the first time I've heard of it, though. Like, I'm not hearing people talk about it. I have heard people talk about the Sheldon Keefe thing, though.
No, I've seen a lot about. I mean, I'm checking Twitter quite a bit to keep up to date with a lot of the reports and whatnot.
People are talking about everything.
There's a lot about Marner.
It's not
Matthews
the
is clear, though.
Yeah,
Matthews isn't involved, but like, Marner's the guy that it's always coming back to every year. Is play regular season beast, but invisible in the playoffs.
He doesn't play a playoff style game, and that's and you know what? At the end of the day, that sucks, but it's not exactly his fault.
Well, get in there, mix it up a bit.
Yeah.
Matthews can do it. Nylander can do it. Morgan Riley can do it. Tavares can do it. Why can't Marner?
He doesn't play that bang and crash style. He plays a rather soft style, to be honest. And, that I'm sure he wants to be better in the playoffs, but,
100%, yeah.
They gave him a crap ton of money, and did they just assume he was going to start playing like a Conn Smythe player eventually, or,
Yeah, that's true.
He's He's an Art Ross guy. He's not a Conn Smythe guy.
Yeah, that's actually the perfect way of putting it.
And there's a lot of guys like that. And there's a lot of guys that are the exact opposite. You know, Marcia So is a Conn Smythe guy. He's never going to be an Art Ross guy.
No.
And he doesn't need to be.
Yeah, no, absolutely doesn't have to be.
Or both, obviously.
For that series, what do you feel? Like I'm still, I still think Boston takes this series. Whether that's in 5, 6, 7, I think Boston still comes out.
I hate that
in the end.
Nylander hasn't played yet. It feels so
this
unfair,
would be so different,
especially after 82 games played this year. He did not miss a single game, and he hasn't played in the first 3 games. That is so brutal. I really hope he can make it back for game 4 or 5 or something like that.
And now with Toronto, like now that Morgan Riley's signed, it's now kind of like their big 5 with Riley, Tavares, Matthews, Marner, Nylander.
I don't know why people called it the big 4 for so long. I always thought of it as a big 5.
I think they called it the big 4 because of like the big 4 contracts. I think more so. At least that's the way I kind of viewed it.
How much is Morgan Riley making?
I think like 7.5.
Like that's not nothing. He's clearly their number one guy on the blue line. So,
but I think back then he was still only making, I think, like $5 million.
Oh, okay.
But like out of those guys, who in recent years has been the most consistent in the playoffs?
Nylander.
And it's not. I don't think it's even really been kind of close. Like Matthews is kind of been up there. Morgan Riley actually.
I was going to say consistently over like the last several years in the playoffs, it's always been Nylander. But like in the last 2-ish years, Morgan Riley's been phenomenal. Matthews has started stepping up. Hell, last year in the playoffs, Marner was actually pretty good. That was his first postseason where he really, showed I'm not just a bum who can flip it over the glass and take a delay game. I can actually help the team. So I don't know what's going on this year. Hopefully he can.
The Nylander though, like that just is. It's such a ball buster for them, man.
I really hope he gets back, and if he does, I think Toronto can still win it in 7. I don't see a way Toronto wins this at this point without it going 7.
I don't think Toronto wins if Nylander doesn't come back. Like if Nylander's out, I think Toronto is done. But if Nylander's back, I think Toronto maybe could then.
Like I feel inclined to agree with you, but at the same time, some of these games have been close, and it's 2-1. Couple bounces.
Games 2 and 3 were both close. It was just game 1 that got away from Toronto early, and they couldn't come back.
Yeah, like it wasn't. They're not getting dominated, so I could, even without Nylander, I could see them winning. It's a lot easier if he's back, though.
Yeah. We're due for an overtime game in this series.
I hope so.
Game 4 or 5. I think we're due for one of these games to hit overtime, though. That's my prediction. Games 4 or 5 in this series is going to overtime. One of the two.
I want to see, and I don't care which game it is, and I don't care which team it's for. I want to see an overtime goal called back for offside, just because they're both very loud fan bases who would be very upset by it. And I think that would be a very funny visual. We'd get a lot of reaction images out of that.
Yeah. And then the last series, the Winnipeg Jets, Colorado Avalanche, tied up 1-1, going back to Colorado.
Fun series.
Colorado won, very fun. Colorado won game 2 by a score of 5-2, so a little bit of a different story from game 1. Winnipeg got up 2-1, kind of halfway through the second. Colorado rattled off 3 by the end of the second period, and then sealing it with an empty net goal.
You were saying before that you weren't sure if they were going to have more than one more game where they score like 5 or more goals, right? But like,
I said by Hellebuck though. The 5th goal is an empty netter, so I'm still safe there.
Oh, okay, sure.
I said get 5 past Hellebuck. An empty netter is not by Hellebuck. That's Josh Morrissey trying to block it.
Back of the net. And this Colorado team's they've got offense.
Yeah, and Georgiev, you know what? I ragged on him pretty hard. He looked solid in that game.
Yeah, and he better, because like we were saying before, they're down to what? Their 5th string goalie is backup?
Yeah.
Like, so Georgiev has to be good. There's no other option.
Well, it's not even like Georgiev has to be like great or elite or good.
Just like
all
Casey
he has to be serviceable. He just has to be decent. That's all he has to do.
Yeah.
And this Colorado
Him and-
team can do the rest of it.
Him and Casey DeSmith literally just need to be 890 goaltenders and let their team do the rest.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, Georgiev, 30 shots against, 2 goals against, 28 saves, a 9.33 save percentage. Like that's really good numbers for a playoff game.
Yep.
So great bounce back by him. I'm very excited to see how game 3 goes now because Winnipeg's got to steal at least 1 in Colorado. Winnipeg's fine if they're going back home 2-2 or even 3-1, but if they're going back home down 3-1, sorry Winnipeg, you're done. Especially against Colorado.
Yeah. Notoriously good at home Colorado as well.
Like even Nashville could come back from down 3-1 against Vancouver. Washington, I mean, it would never happen, but like there's a small chance Washington could. But like a team like the Avs that have that playoff experience, they've already won a cup. Some of the players on their team, like if you go down 3-1, that's you need a miracle to find a way back. So I'm very curious to see how games 3 and 4 go, and more than anything, what kind of Georgiev do we get? Do we get a game 1 or do we get a game 2? Or, but between the 2 games, do we see a little bit of both?
I'm definitely leaning towards that. I think we're gonna have at least one more game where people are going, "Is this guy an NHL goalie?" And we're gonna have at least one more where we're going, "Okay, that's what we need to see." So
yeah,
is this the biggest 50-50 series to you?
Going through them,
you could see either guy winning the most.
This one and Edmonton, LA.
Yeah.
I still give Edmonton a little bit more edge. So yes, this series I would say is like it's still a complete 50-50. I'm still obviously rooting for Winnipeg, just because Canadian team. But like it can go either way
so easily. I might have Boston, Toronto. I guess probably not ahead of Winnipeg, Colorado, but I'd have them as a closer series than Edmonton, LA if it wasn't 2-1. But then
and that's fair, yeah.
And I guess, after 3 games, one team literally has to be up on the other. You can't split it. So
yeah.
Those 3 series are definitely the closest. And Vancouver, Nashville still 1-1. It's literally tied, so we'll see how that ends up. But yeah, it's really interesting. It's weird that we have a perfect 4-4 split for games, series that are all one team and series that are tied or very close to it.
Yeah, like the West is all close series. We could be seeing a lot of game 6 and 7s, whereas in the East, like could potentially have 3 sweeps and 1 series done in 5. Like the West is the dogfight conference this year, I think.
Yeah. And it was supposed
to,
and I mean it's going to be in the East once we hit round 2, and depending on how some of the rest of the first round matchups unfold, but
because you could be seeing Florida versus Boston, and as right now Rangers and Carolina. Like those are 2 banging series, but we thought a lot of these ones were going to be, and it's not looking like it right now. The games have been good though, even though the series are very lopsided.
Every game I've watched has been
good. Yeah, we're getting good playoff hockey from every series.
That's pretty much my thoughts on most of them. I don't have a ton more to add.
That's kind of where I'm at with it. So, but I know you wanted to go through some of the player stats. I think we decided we're going to do goalies after the first round when we kind of have a little bit more of a sample size, because Georgiev, despite looking really good in game 2, his stats are probably still abysmal after the only other game he played. But at least with the players, we can kind of look through and see what guys are shining, maybe some surprise playoff performers, maybe some guys of, when are they going to show up? All that fun stuff.
So we got the points leaders here. There's only 2 guys that are up at 6 points on the top of the mountain on their own. That's Brad Marchand and Connor McDavid. Marchand has played one more game. He's played 3 to McDavid's 2. And then there's quite a few guys tied at 4 and at 5. The only defenseman really up here, though, Cale Makar, with 5 points in 2 games for the Colorado
it's not
Avalanche.
surprising.
No, but damn, is he good?
Bouchard's got to be up there. He had 4 assists in one game.
Bouchard has 4 points in 2 games as well.
So he's up there.
He's up there.
Who's all got 5 points right now?
Zach Hyman, Matthew Tkachuk, who I think has 2 points on empty netters.
Jake DeBrusk has to be up there. He's been salty. A beast.
Jake DeBrusk has 5 points as well.
He does have 5.
Verhaeghe, and then Cale Makar.
Man, Jake DeBrusk has looked so good for Boston right now.
Yeah.
He's looked really, really solid for them. And I like that. I'm a big Jake DeBrusk fan, so I like seeing him having some playoff success there with the Bruins.
Yeah. And then for the goals lead, only one guy has 4 goals. He's one of the guys who's done it in 2 games. You know him. It's your boy, Zach Hyman.
Only hat trick so far in the playoffs, too, this year.
Park that dump truck in front of the net in the crease, get that stick on the ice, and just wait.
Yeah,
and you know what?
Wait,
and you know what? No one does it better. McDavid's played with a lot of guys, and he hasn't turned other bums into 50-goal guys.
Yeah, no. Well, I don't think I would call Hyman a bum, but
no, I'm saying none of the other bums that they put him with. Pat Maroon didn't get 50 Genos playing with McDavid.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple guys with 3 goals: Jake DeBrusk, Matthew Tkachuk, Steven Stamkos, and Adrian Kempe.
Kempe has been huge for the Kings. I've been very, very impressed with, and he's one of those guys that just he doesn't get talked about enough. Despite, like what has he done the last couple seasons for goals, like just being a goal scorer. 2 years ago, put up 35. Last year, 41. This year, a little bit of a down year. 28, but still 75 points in 77 games. Like, this is a guy that just is he's probably my pick for one of the most underrated players in the league.
That's fair.
I just don't ever hear anyone talking about Adrian Kempe. Like, he's not he's never going to be contending for any awards or being top 5 in points or goals or anything, but like he's just a consistent, around point per game guy. He can clearly pot you 40 goals. Like, you don't hear him ever get talked about. It's so good for Kempe. He's a big reason of why LA's where they're at, not only in the playoffs but in the series, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's and that's going to happen when you have that many points in those few games.
I think there was talk of him potentially getting moved at the deadline when LA was going through a skid as well. Like, they weren't actively trying to move him, but like if they got an offer, they couldn't refuse for him. Like, if someone came out and gave him a massive haul, they probably would have taken it. But I think they're looking at now, like, good thing we kept this guy because he's one of the core heart and soul guys of that team moving forward.
27 years old, so he's like just entering his prime. Only 2 games played, 3 goals for 4 points. All 3 goals, even strength. His assist, all 4 points, even strength. Plus,
did you see his goal?
20 minutes a night. Like, dude is nothing if not net positive for the team.
Yeah. Did you see his goal that he scored last night?
I did not.
I guess it would be his second goal. So you open the scoring. I don't know why Siri's popping up. He scored like 3.5 minutes in from Kopitar, and then with about 5 minutes left, Kopitar goes to make a saucer pass. It hits a stick and bounces up, and Kempe, like, just so easily just bats the puck out of there. It's probably about like around chest height, and just bats it and puts it right up in the top corner out of the air. It was such a cool looking goal, man. It was so cool.
Yeah.
It was a goal scorer's goal. You got to have good hand-eye to pull that off.
It's wild how consistently some guys are doing that now. just smacking it out of the air and right in the net.
Yeah, it's actually becoming a lot more popular now. A lot more guys are starting to do that, and it looks cool. I love it.
Yeah,
I love seeing those types of goals.
Yeah, it's wild, and I mean, we'd have even more if so many of them weren't getting called back for high stick, right?
Yeah. Actually, there has been quite a few.
That's
Do you have
pretty
any other
much.
stats you wanted to go through, or just those two for now?
You know what?
Worth
Quinton
noting,
Byfield.
6 points, 5 are power play points as well.
Quinton
Same
Byfield
with
in
DeBrusque and McDavid.
2 games played is a +5 for the LA Kings at age 21. So suck on that, people who said he was a bust.
Yeah, he is just a late bloomer. Him and Lafreniere.
Is he even? He's 21 years old. Dude's kind of like still a child. Like,
no, I guess more so like, nowadays you're seeing these second overall guys kind of come to the league immediately, like, and do pretty well, like Byfield. Because what was he drafted? 2020. So the 2020 season, like the year after he was drafted, played 6 games, only had 1 assist. The following year, 40 games played, 10 points. Last year, 53 games played, 3 goals. I believe all 3 goals came to the Islanders as well.
I do believe he was also younger than a lot of the people in his draft year. I feel like I remember hearing that that draft year, like he was like 10 months younger.
A couple months. Well, actually, yeah, because he's August birthday. So actually, yeah. And then this year, I mean, he's really found his way in the league. 80 games played, 20 goals, 35 assists, 55 points, and now he's doing his thing in the playoffs. He's got 3 assists so far in the 2 games, and he was a +4 last night against the Oilers.
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying.
He's
only guy who's a +5 right now.
Team.
Also, never heard this name, Jack Drury, +4
Jack
for
Drury.
the Hurricanes.
Yeah, he's been a little shit disturber for them. He looks like a playoff guy, and I mean with Carolina, like when you look at Carolina, it's like, yeah, they're a good team, but they don't change much from how they play in the regular season. Like it's the same thing, but like you can see a guy like Jack Drury, he and Seth Jarvis as well. Those 2 guys like take it to the next level. They're out there doing everything, like crashing and bashing, fighting in the corners, doing all this. But like everybody else on the Hurricanes, it just looks like what they do in the regular season. So it's really cool to see those 2 young guys that haven't been in the league long are really the guys you kind of notice the most on that team that are really, giving it that extra level for the playoffs.
Yeah, it's good to see when guys, step up, because it's so fun to watch in sports when those guys just have those intangible, just take over a game moments in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Also, just because there's not a lot of stats to look at, but shout out to John Carlson for breathing. Still, 2 games played, an average of 29 minutes and 6 seconds of time on ice. Dude's just played like half the time in the playoffs for the Caps.
Yeah.
Slightly over 29 minutes. Dude. That's wild.
Also, I mean,
33 years old.
Yeah. Also, you know what? Shout out to, for 33. All right, let's jump it up to 39. Brent Burns tonight led the Carolina Hurricanes in time on ice at 39. It's unbelievable the way he's still able to play at 39, and not only that, but like logging the most minutes almost every night for that team at that age, especially in the playoffs, is pretty impressive.
Yeah, no doubt. Got a goal under his belt the other day.
Tonight?
Oh, that was tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, I was driving back home and I heard it on the radio. I only have one more thing, and it's a very quick one. I just want to hear your thoughts on it. So after Boston's win last night, they obviously went back to Jeremy Swayman as part of their tandem, going back and forth.
Right.
Swayman said in his post-game interview, he said he doesn't want rest. He wants to play. What do you? So yeah, and so that's what I thought. I was like, man, when him and Allmark have always kind of seemed comfortable being in that tandem, being best buddies, giving each other like Swayman's now like I don't want to rest. I want to play in these games, and for what it's worth, he's 2-0. Allmark's 0-1.
I was gonna say he's the starter, and he's been winning, and the other guy hasn't.
And he's the future as well.
And the other guy's clearly not the future of the team. I get it. They're buddies. They do the hug. They're probably best friends. That's fine. Dude wants to play. He's your best goalie. He's your starter, and he wants to play. I think they should play him.
I completely agree. I think, if he says he wants to play, it's like, all right, you put him out in game 4. He has a rough game, or Boston loses, and maybe go back to homework. But like, if you've got your future goalie who's as young as he is and playing as good as he is, if he's coming out and saying, I don't want to rest, I want to play, like, how do you sit him? I think I'm pretty sure Boston's going to go with Allmark for game 4 just because that's what they do. But I would like to see Swayman right back in there again and see him in back-to-back games and be like, hey, if you want to play, let's see how you do now and see if he can. Because like if he goes out there and drops a shutout or something,
yeah,
maybe he's just going to be on a mission to be like, hey, Allmark, you're my buddy, I love you, but I'm stealing the spot for the playoffs now.
Yeah, and it's if he wants to play, like he's playing so good, I don't know why you'd say no, you can't. We got to keep both of you sharp. Like Allmark's going to be fine to step in if something happens to Swayman, whether it's an injury or his play regresses. So I think they would be more than fine if they starting Swayman every game.
Yeah, I agree. You would know more than me because you played goalie for a bit. But I feel like for these guys, when you get to the NHL and you're a goalie, like you're in the playoffs, you don't want to be, even if it's your best buddy, you don't want to be sharing the crease. Like you want to be the guy out there every night in those playoff games, making those saves and putting the team on your back when you have to. You don't want to be, going in and then it's like, all right, I had a really good game, stole the game for the team. Oh, but now I'm sitting next game. I don't get to play. It's like,
yeah,
it's gotta be a weird feeling for those two guys when it comes playoff time, I feel like.
Yeah, and so obviously we did not, it was a long time ago, and also we did not play at a high level, but I was a goalie for a couple years there, and it kind of sucks. You drive to the game, you put all your stuff on, you warm up, and then you ride the bench the whole time, and then you pack up and go home.
Yeah.
Or if you do get to play, you get put into a game, you're losing 5-1, and you got to try and settle it down. Like,
yeah,
being the backup goalie kind of sucks. You really got to have the mentality of going into it as a backup goalie, because if you're sitting there thinking I'm a starter, and then you end up being a tandem or a backup, that could definitely suck.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to bring that because I thought that was a very interesting comment, considering they've always just been happy being best buddies, best friends, and being a tandem. But now it's like Swayman's kind of stepping up and like, all right, I'm ready to take over and take the reins now, because it's kind of been building. Like Allmark's probably gone after the season, so it's kind of cool to see Swayman kind of finally step up, and be like, I'm ready now. I'm ready to kind of lead this team, through the playoffs and going forward. As he should, I think, the way he's been playing.
Yeah, and you want that. You want your starting goalie to be like, play me. You want him to be hungry. You want him to want to be in there. So
and that's confidence as well.
This is good on everyone's side except for, I guess, Allmark. But he won the Vezina last year. It's kind of been his crease to lose, and it's not like he played badly and lost it, but he's the second best goalie on the team. Yeah.
Like that's really what it comes down to. And in the playoffs, we've said if you've got a like with the Islanders, I mean, going to Sorokin seemed like the right call, but it's like if you started Varlamov, you probably win tonight. Like it's that simple. If you've got a goalie that's hot and winning you games, you got to go with them.
Yep. That's all it boils down to in the playoffs. You got to play the hot hand.
Unfortunately, we won't know until Saturday because they obviously wanted to make the Leafs game be on Saturday for Hockey Night in Canada. So we'll have to wait until Saturday to find out what Boston does. But I'm very curious to see what decision they take going into that one.
Yeah. I believe that's all we have.
That's now everything. Everything that I got.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, that wraps everything up here for us. Once again, thank you to everybody for tuning in to a very special playoff episode of the Stick 'em Up podcast. We are now on the schedule, grind, whatever you want to call it, of doing 2 episodes per week. One early in the week, kind of around Monday, Tuesday, and then our usual Friday, as we want to keep up to date with everything going on in the playoffs. As you can see, I mean, we were hoping that these were going to be shorter episodes now, doing 2 of them. But like once you get talking about playoff hockey, it's hard to stop. But we thank you guys for tuning in and joining us on our first kind of run through the playoffs here with this podcast. And if you want to chat with us or just show support, you can always check us out on any of our socials. We are on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at SEU Hockey. Throw us a follow. Come say hi. Tell us if who you think is going to win the cup, because my opinion changes daily. Tomorrow it's probably going to change again based on the games. But if you guys want to let us know what you're thinking, feel free to let us know.
Yeah, it's a good time whenever somebody reaches out and getting that engagement. It's a lot of fun hearing other people, especially other fan bases, thoughts on the playoffs and how teams played. Some people think a goalie's been good. Some people think a goalie's been bad. It's a lot of differing opinions. So let us know if you've got an opinion. And
yeah. Awesome. Well, once again, thank you to everybody for listening, and we will see you guys next week.